built-in and custom audit trail. This tutorial applies to PHP Runner, ASP.NET and ASP Runner Pro. An audit trail is a process that keeps track of the changes or amendments that are taking place to any field for each record in a specific table. Here I have a small project with a user table, and I need to keep track of all changes that happen for each user. PHP Runner is equipped with such functionality and can be activated with just a few clicks. On the security page, a click on Login and Audit. The Audit Trail pop-up window opens and audit logging is disabled by default. Select Log to a database and we now have the option to name the table where we want to store the log details. I select Create New and call the table user_audit. All tables in your project will appear in the Table Modification section. In my case, I only have a user table. I activate logging for this table and can now specify to log modifications and field values. In other words, the option will log the old and the new values when someone updates a record. Click OK and logging is now activated for this table. Let's have a quick look at the table PHP Runner has created. It has an ID, which is expected, and then it will log things like IP, user, table, action and description. The table is currently empty, which also makes sense as it was created a few seconds ago. Back at the project, on the page designer, I just would like to add a drop-down select to the user status field so we have some functionality for demonstration. I'm just going to use a list of values for now. Okay, let's build and add a user. For name, I will just use my own. Email will be some test value. And the status, I select active. Okay, a record was saved. Let's see what happened in the log. Now I think this is well recorded data. We have a date and time, an IP. User is empty, but that is because I did not set up sign on. And the action that took place was add. The description field is a bit difficult to see, but I think if I edit the record here in PHP-My-Admin, we should be able to see everything in this field. And yes, we have a nice breakdown between keys and fields and their values. And now let's go and edit the record. I will add a surname. And the record successfully updated. Back at the log, I refresh the table and we have a second record. The data is very similar, although the action is now indicated as edit. Very nice. Again, we can see the key and the name field change from its old value to the new. Personally, I think this table is very useful and can be used in any project to show the history on how data changed since the day they were added till its current state. With that being said, many channel users asked me on a demonstration on how I would go about to create a custom audit trail functionality. Many do not like the changes being stored in a single field, and having the ID column as part of everything else makes it impossible to set up a one-to-many relationship between the main table and the audit table. To demonstrate this, I created my own audit table. It contains fields like the table, amendment date, the field, amendment ID to be able to do one-to-many relationship, and the change from, the change to, change by, and an action that will store, add, or edit. You may want to change or add your own columns to fit your specific situation. For example, the amendment date can be changed to a date-time data type. First, we want to be able to tell which table are being changed. Back at the project, I go to the events page. Under each table, in my case the user table, will be a after table initialized event. Open the description for this event and you will notice the $table code over here. So PHP Runner set the table name into this variable during this event. This is true for all tables in your project. So I'm going to use this to set a session variable called current table. You will have to do this for all tables you want an audit trail for in your project. First, I go to the add page and then after a record added. PHP Runner supplies us with an associated array called $values that contains all fields and their values that has been written to the database. So all I do is loop through the array using the for each PHP function and obtain the field description, also the array key and the value. I now insert a record into my audit table for each loop. I hard-coded the change by field to 0 as I do not have a login page, and also hard-coded the action field to add as we are adding a record at this point. When a record gets updated, we need to perform a similar action on the edit page after a record update event. There is a small difference though. We only want the changed values. Again, PHP Runner supplies us with the $value array, but also a second array called $alt values. So the difference between the $values and $alt values is exactly what we are looking for. I now use a PHP function called array_diff to set a new array called $new values that will store the difference between these two arrays. Because I have $values in the first position of this function, $new values will store only the changed new or latest field values. Now that I have a new array, I will loop through it in the same way using the for each function. Since I only have the new value of the changed field, I will get the old or previous value by referencing the $alt value array using the current $field description or array key. I now have all values needed to do another insert into my audit table. Yet this time the action is hard-coded as edit. I now do a syntax check to see if all is good before I build and upload the files. Okay, back at phpMyAdmin, I make sure that audit and user tables are empty. I'm now going to add a new record. The record was saved, so let us observe my audit table. As you can see, A new record was added for each field, and we can also identify the new record. This is user ID 1. Let's do an update. I will update only the name field. It's now John Smith. Back at the audit table, refresh, and you can see the name field changed in a table called user for user ID 1 from John to John Smith on this date during an edit action. Let's update more than one field. I will change the name to John, and I deliberately misspelled it, and change the status to inactive. Okay, record updated, so let's go to the audit table. We now have two records added to the table, one for name and one for status. Oh, excuse me. Now, if you want to add another table, you will have to copy and paste all this code to the new table's add and edit sections. This can get very bulky, especially in big projects. So I will show you in a next tutorial how to convert all of this event code into a single custom PHP function that can be called from any tables after add and after update events. Furthermore, a link to the event code used in this tutorial can be found in the description below.